So those of you who attended Geshe Tapke's teachings, that's not new to you. So bear with me. I needed to do this repetition for myself to motivate me to learn, study, practice, think deeply about those topics on emptiness. And maybe one or two of you will find some benefit from it as well. So Cynthia, as well as a question in the 400 stanzas by Ayadeva, raised the question, even so you have explained selflessness very clearly and extensively, and the Tathagatas fully understood and gave instructions on it, why do most people not follow the teachings? So the answer is, although the one who formulated it and those who elucidate it may be the perfect embodiment of greatness, a listener with great qualities is extremely hard to find. You want to change that, right? Yeah! So what qualities does one need? Verse 276 says, an unprejudiced, intelligent and interested listener is called a vessel. So what are these 5 qualities? Unprejudiced, being intelligent, to have keen interest, to be interested, and to be respectful towards the teacher and the teachings. And I looked a little bit more deeply into each of those 5 qualities. So unprejudiced is to be open-minded. It includes equanimity, the practice of equanimity, and to be respectful to all sentient beings. So all sentient beings have been our mothers since beginningless time. So if we don't understand that now fully, so we can see that all sentient beings provided for our well-being, even just for our survival. And if we had very difficult, painful experiences in our childhood or lived in a society that was very difficult, even so, the fact that we gained great benefit is we are alive and we are here right now and we study, practice the teachings, the Dharma. So instead of being prejudiced, judgmental, we learn to be grateful and to show respect. And therefore we practice equanimity, love, compassion. That's very essential to start with. And Geshe-la emphasized in his teaching that it's important to practice with these practices with those who are close to us. So not somebody who is living on another planet, but those who are directly looking at us, we are interacting with each day. And then our relationship to those will change positively. The second quality is being intelligent. What does it mean? It's to be able to distinguish what are beneficial and unbeneficial teachings. And so we really have to be able to question and to think about the teachings. And even if we are not there yet, so for example, if we sit in teachings and we just don't have any questions because it's all over our head, then we could at least hold on to wise, intelligent teachers and get inspired by those and by them. And over time, our understanding will increase, we will improve, and ourselves we will be able to distinguish between what is beneficial and what not. So then the third quality is to have keen interest. One really needs to be interested in those good qualities and not just sit there and look like you're interested, right? You're sitting and the teacher is explaining and you, And so we really have to think, to question the words of the teacher, the teachings. But how do we come to that point? So first of all, we have to understand in which situation we are in, that we are a product of karma and afflictions, and that the main cause for us is ignorance, and that is grasping the true existence, such as permanence, inherence. And if we, instead of pointing out the faults to others, we now turn our attention towards us, we recognize our own dukkha, our own suffering, our own afflictions, and otherwise we will be not interested to change anything at all. We have to recognize our own afflictions, our own suffering. And so then we will be able to listen and practice the teachings diligently. And then fourth is to be attentive. that means to have, to be attentive will make us to a more receptive vessel. So like not sitting in teachings and looking at your nails, or starting to stare at another person, how she or he is looking like. So really to be focused, not to be distractive. And then last but not least, but it's very important aspect, is to be respectful towards the teacher and the teachings. So that means not to be hostile or judgmental. For example, if our teacher has hiccups. If we have judgmental feelings towards our teacher, how can we learn the Dharma? If we don't respect our teacher and take good example of him or her, then there's no chance to improve. So again, the question was, even so, you have explained selflessness very clearly and extensively, and the Tathagatas fully understood and gave instructions on it. Why do most people not follow the teachings? I think too, and Venerable Losang mentioned it this morning, because we have not studied, practiced the preliminaries yet. So Ayadeva's 400 stanzas was divided into 16 chapters, is divided into 16 chapters, and the first 8 chapters are there to prepare us for the next 8 chapters that we started to go through with Geshe-la. And the first is to study and meditate upon impermanence, so to learn to rid yourself of at the grasping at the body as permanent. The second is to abandon that the body is pleasurable. The third is to abandon the cleanliness of the body, so there's no lasting happiness in the body. Then the fourth is abandoning the pride. There's no self to be pride upon. Nothing belongs to us. We have everything what we have, even our language we have due to the kindness of others. Then practicing the bodhisattva deeds, it's chapter number 4. It's to learn, essentially to learn to be a servant to others and to develop ourselves to its fullest so that we can be of greatest benefit to all sentient beings. And then 6 is to abandon disturbing emotions. There are different means to overcome those, and there are antidotes to be practiced, and the teacher also will treat her students according to their strengths of afflictions. And then 7th, it's to abandon attachment to the sense objects, and it's to understand that worldly pleasure can never fully satisfy us, and to see worldly pleasure and happiness like an illusion. And 8, it's a preparation for the disciples. So we need to read chapter 8 before we start chapter 9, 10, and so on. The students are, we are all on different levels, on different stages in our practice. So the Buddha taught different methods, and we have to learn them step by step. So again, going back to the question, so why do most people not follow the teachings? Answer, because they don't know the purpose benefits of meditating on emptiness. So Geshe Dekshok said in his book, Insight into Emptiness, the main purpose of understanding emptiness is to understand how we are born in cyclic existence and how we are able to leave cyclic existence and attain liberation and enlightenment. And in the Diamond Cutter Sutra, the Buddha said to his students, Rapture, that if any man, woman, or virtuous being were to take the number of walls equal to the particles of sand in the river Ganges, so here the particles of sand expresses that it's actually a great number and great amount, and it means actually that it's referring to the water molecules of the Ganges. And so completely fill them with the 7 types of precious substances such as gold, silver, and to offer this to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and the offerings made would be immeasurable, and the merit created would also be immeasurable. And still the Buddha says the merit of reflecting on the meaning of emptiness would be even greater, although making magnificent offerings creates great merit. This practice alone cannot cut the root of cyclic existence. However, reflecting on emptiness even for a little while begins the process of demolishing the ignorance that keeps us bound in cyclic existence. And there's another example that I read in a different book by Geshe Tekshok. It's in German. It's about King Mageda, who killed his father, and that is one of the 5 heinous deeds, so very negative act. And it said that this king listened to the teachings on emptiness, and he reflected upon it, he meditated upon it, and so he purified himself completely from this negative deed. So if we can purify such a deed, we can purify many other deeds as well. And in the teachings with Geshe Tapke, these last 9 days, he mentioned that killing 100 million beings is less serious than giving up, rejecting, dependent arising emptiness. So you might wonder how this is actually possible, how such purification is possible due to meditating upon emptiness. How can that be? So we will understand that when understanding that afflictions such as anger, attachments are actually not the nature of our mind. The nature of our mind is, per definition, in clarity and awareness. And the afflictions are like clouds that actually not penetrate the nature of our mind. They're just there, they're in front of the nature of mind. And the clouds cover it, but still the nature of mind is not changed. So we have the mind that is pure, that is empty. And no phenomena exist in and of itself. The afflictions come with a grasping to a self that really does not exist. And if we understand the empty nature of such self, the empty nature of our mind, then, and practice accordingly, we will uproot the afflictions from its very base. And Geshe Tekshok compares this with the process of stopping a generator. And if we stop the generator, then it will not deliver energy to other parts. And so our afflictions can't function. So there's no affliction when we realize the empty nature of self, of our own mind. So last but not least, what are some indicators of our effort in studying, practicing on emptiness? That our study practice on emptiness is actually successful. And that is if we actually put more effort into the 6 parameters, into the 5 parameters: generosity, ethic, enthusiasm, forbearance, patience, and concentration. So, for example, that is understood as following. If we don't practice generosity, then we will be poor, and if we are pure, we have to work a lot, we have to earn money, and so we don't have less time to actually study, practice the teachings on emptiness. So if we don't act ethically, we will have not a human rebirth or a birth as a god, and so that will also diminish our ability to study, practice the teachings on emptiness. If we are not patient, we will have an ugly appearance, and that will make us unpleasant to other human beings. If we are not enthusiastic enough, we will not be able to finish any tasks. We will stop when it's getting too difficult. And if we are not able to meditate one-pointedly on emptiness, so our practice will be weak accordingly to that. So all this can only be accomplished if we study, practice regularly. We really have to think about it again and again, and slowly change will come. Instead of habitually reacting with anger, we will remember the antidotes, and we will remember impermanence and dependent arising, and the empty nature of self. So let's go for it.